with Ben Simmons. We already knew that was going to happen. And I know a lot of these so-called sports announcers, ESPN, Fox, it was all telling you, we don't see how it could happen. I'm sitting there like, why? It's going to happen. And then they'll tell you, well, this doesn't make sense. X, Y, Z. This person's not good for this fit. This person, it's the best trade for both teams. I'm about to tell you now. Both teams are not only going to benefit from it, but I see that both teams will meet each other probably in the playoffs. Why? Because both players complement the other team better than they did with the team that they were on. James Harden was not a good fit for Brooklyn, and I don't understand why people thought that. It was like, yeah, he's a good fit. No, because despite what people think, him and Kyrie are similar. And they'll be like, well, no, they're not similar. They're similar in a lot of ways, to include height. So you gave up a lot. So the addition of Ben Simmons actually frees up Kyrie to do what Kyrie does best. It's kind of like you having literally a LeBron James on the floor. And look at how much success Kyrie had when he had LeBron James beside him. I know you're like, well, what about Kevin Durant? Kevin Durant's going to score 30 because he's just that good. So you have that to worry about. And Ben Simmons not really caring about scoring. But also in the trade, you got Seth Curry, which was a big pickup to shoot those threes. So that was actually a surprise to me in the trade that they actually did get Steph, because Steph is really a good three-point shooter, and you're adding that to fill a void that the Brooklyn Nets have, which means that now you elevate the Brooklyn Nets. Well, Ben Simmons ain't played this year. That means that when he reports to Brooklyn, he's probably going to be not in basketball shape, but he's not going to be hurt or worn down by the season, which will work out for them. James Harden, we seen that James Harden could play his way into shape, and him and Embiid actually give you a 1-2 punch, which is pretty good. Even though Embiid is not the banger down low that you would like, it still gives them that 1-2 punch where you have that inside-outside threat, which a lot of championship teams were built off that. So that's going to be interesting because both of them like to shoot the three. But, knowing that you have that inside presence, I think it'll work. Plus, James Harden loves Daryl Morey. What more can you say? And I wouldn't look at it this year. Look at next year, because I do believe that Philly has a plan to add maybe one more star. So with that being said, we'll see what happens. I think that was actually a good trade. But that's not the only trade that happened. We saw Portland cleaning house. They sent CJ down to the Pelicans, which was an interesting trade for the Pelicans because you added not just a star, but a proven star. And I know people are like, he's not made an all-star team, this and third, but he's a 20-point scorer and an efficient scorer. And even in his first game with the Pelicans, he was scoring. So you have that outside threat to add with Zion and B.I. Next year may look good for the Pelicans. So that was an interesting trade. But what does it say about Portland right now and Dame? The season's over. Well, should he come back and play? No. I'm not going to lie to you. I wouldn't come back and play. I'll sit this season out. But moving forward, what do you want to do? Because Dame told us he was loyal. Dame said, I'm a loyal person. I'm going to do what I need to do. I love it here. I want to make my legacy here. But they tore the team down now. And it's easy to say, I want to build around a person. But you're building around a person that's not necessarily in the first stage of their career. He's leaning more towards the back end of his career. He's not at the end of his career, but he's on the back end. So how many more years can you get out of him at that level to say you want to build a team around him? So I want to know if in the offseason, is he going to say, you know what, maybe it's my time to go. Maybe I'm going to go ahead and hitch my wagon somewhere else, which I wouldn't be surprised or upset with him. And I think that should work out for him on that end. Porzingis moves again. Man, I thought him and Luka will make it. Unfortunately, it's not. It didn't work out down there. So the unicorn is in D.C., which could be actually a formidable team. Kyle Kuzma is actually balling. And I know Bradley Beal's out, so they're just playing just to be playing. But Adam Porzingis may actually give them an offense and an actual focal point of the offense that could free up Kyle Kuzma to score more points, which could free up a lot of the other guys. They're young. And when Bradley Beal comes back next year, if he's still on the team, who knows? They may be dangerous. But a team that did not make trades is the Lakers. And I know a lot of people were like, oh, they got to get rid of Russ, get rid of Russ. And it's like, wait a second, calm down for a moment. He's still a top 75 player, which I don't understand how he made it and Dominique didn't, but to each his own. I don't know how Harden made it and Dominique didn't, but it is what it is. Or Dwight, but I digress. I like the fact that the Lakers didn't make a trade. It states that, look, we understand that this ship looks like it's sinking, but we're not rats and we're not going to desert it. More importantly, this states that they're willing to do whatever it takes to make this work. The problem I think they're going to face is the fact that they are older. But do you ask Russ to come off the bench? I don't think it's a bad move for him. I think they'll work. I actually think staggering Russ and LeBron may actually work better for the Lakers, especially going into the playoffs. And they're going to make the playoffs. LeBron will figure this out. If he has to turn into super LeBron, he'll figure this out. He's going to make the playoffs. It's just what can they do while they're in the playoffs? Is Russ willing to do that? That's the question. I think he is willing to do that. I think Russ is not the person that the media is trying to make him out to be. I think Russ is not the person that, everybody's saying, oh, he's just selfish. He always care about his stats. First off, everybody care about stats. How do you get paid in the NBA? Stats. How do you get paid in life? Stats. I never understood that. That's dumb to me. Like, if somebody says, oh, you care about stats, well, I'm pretty sure an NBA team has not paid a player that did not produce stats like that unless they're filling a bench warmer position. Like, if you want to make over $100 million, I'm pretty sure you have to put up what they call stats. In the corporate world, it's called results. People are stupid, especially broke people. Gotta stop listening to broke people and people who are envious because they say stupid stuff. Oh, do you care about the stats? How else are you going to get paid? How do you prove your worth? Okay, I was waiting. I thought y'all had the answer because I didn't. I thought that was how you prove your worth. So I like the fact that they kept Russ. I like the fact that LeBron James is willing to ride this one out because it says a lot about who he is. Am I his biggest fan? No. But I think they could right the ship. Can they win? The talent says yes. I mean, you literally have the most talented basketball team ever assembled. I mean, to be honest, everybody on the team for at least one moment of their career was all-star. And half the team is in the top 75. So, and one of the people on the team is considered either the best or the second best player on the planet. So we'll see. I like the fact that they did not make moves. I support the fact that they did make moves, and I'm willing to watch this out because either way, it's going to be the most exciting season we've seen in a long time because there's no clear-cut favorite. I don't think Milwaukee's going to repeat, but I don't know if the Warriors will be there either. Phoenix looking good, but hey, we've seen in the past where teams that, like Miami, you didn't expect much from them, and then all of a sudden, bam, Chicago could be one of those teams. Utah may be one of those teams, so we'll see what happens. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going into the best Sunday outside of going to church. And that's right, it's the Super Bowl. We finally get to see the two best football teams, despite what people say, the two best football teams. I don't like when people say, well, Cincinnati's not the best team. Well, they beat the team to get there. Yeah. I always thought that if you beat the person that's supposed to be there, that makes you better than that person. Like, we could say, Mike Tyson's this and that, but Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson, so that makes Buster Douglas a little bit better than Mike Tyson. He beat the man. So if Cincinnati beat Tennessee, if Cincinnati beat Kansas City, then they're representing the AFC, which means that they're the best team in the AFC. I hope y'all understand that because I hear people say, well, they're not the best team. They're not the most talented team. Well, they were the team that stood the last. They're still standing. They're still playing on a Sunday, so that makes them a better team. So Why do we watch ESPN and Fox if they give us stuff that don't make sense? I'll let y'all be the judge of that. But we get to see the Rams and the Bengals play. Did I expect either one to be there? No. The Rams, they built their team to be there. So, I mean, I didn't expect them to be there. I actually thought my 49ers were going to win that game. It is what it is. But the Rams are there. But they're built for this. This is what they do. I mean, they didn't add Von Miller. They didn't bring in Matthew Stafford. They didn't bring in Odell. They didn't bring in Jalen Ramsey. They didn't bring in these players just to sit and not make it. This is what they're playing for. On the other side, Joe Burrow is a different quarterback. And before y'all jump to this, let me go ahead and stop you. He's not Tom Brady. And I don't even think Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback, but he's not Tom Brady. And I think it's very disrespectful that we automatically jump to this player is this player is just like this player, when that player hasn't done half the stuff the other player does. Like Tom Brady has 7 rings and over a 20-year career. Joe Burrow's in his second year. Hold the horses. Come on now. Y'all be running. Oh, my God, it's the second coming. And then what did the player do? Fell out. And that's one thing we're going to talk about on a later edition of Sports Talk is how we build these players up to fail and wonder why there's a big suicide rate amongst pro athletes. One killed himself not too long ago because you build them up to fail. But we'll go back to that. That's going to be a later show. But I think it's going to be a good game. Now, do I think personally the Rams are going to murder Cincinnati? Honestly, I do. And I'm going to tell you why. There was a moment in the 49ers game where Aaron Donald pulled the defense to the side and he said, we're not going to lose and I want a ring. And they proceeded to murder Garoppolo the rest of the way. That front four had Garoppolo running. The whole game he wasn't, but that in the fourth quarter, Garoppolo was like, oh my God. On the other side is Joe Burrow, who literally ate dirt this whole playoffs. Like his offensive line is garbage. He ate dirt. Joe Dirt. That's what they should call him, Joe Dirt, because he tasted the dirt. However, his willingness to win and the way that he could see the field has helped him to overcome that. But he has eaten the turf so much that, you know, if I'm Cincinnati right now, I'm trying my best to figure out what I need to do for my offensive line to protect me. You know, Tom Brady used to buy his offensive line a lot of stuff for protecting him. Maybe Joe Burrow needs to start buying everybody cigars. Because, bro, you tasted that dirt. And Aaron Donald coming from one end, Vaughn from the other end. You just can't turn around and just throw because you got Jalen on one side. So it's going to be interesting. And I think Matthew Stafford is going to have a great game. I know a lot of people, especially one Skip Bayless, is like, I don't trust Matthew Stafford. First and foremost, how can you not trust a person in a field in which you have never done? I digress. I'm tired of people just saying stuff because they want it to be clickbait. Look, people who had never played the sport, even people who have played the sport, have not played certain things. Matthew Stafford actually was a great quarterback in Detroit. He never had nothing. He had Megatron. Oh, wow. One person who actually retired early like Barry Sanders, was let you know how ate up an organization is when your great players retire early. Matthew Stafford sat there in dormitory, or purgatory rather. And now he's on a team, first year he's in the Super Bowl with weapons. Real weapons. I mean, OBJ Cup, they're no joke. And despite what people think about OBJ, it's funny. Baker had him. Same season, right? He was with the Browns earlier this season. I want everybody to realize that. He was with the Browns, which was arguably one of the top offenses in the AFC. That's a fact. But it's funny. He's getting more production now. What's the difference? Quarterbacks. So maybe Baker Mayfield is not that guy. If I was to predict the score, personally, I think the Rams could literally what we call a Boston defense. If the defense gets to Joe Burrow and he starts getting rabbled, I think it's going to be a long day for him. If Matthew Stafford just throws 2 touchdowns, I think the defense could give them 2 more. I honestly believe that that's how good the Rams are. And plus, they're home, which could work in their favor. I know last year we saw it work in Tampa Bay's favor. So, home field advantage, I think it's going to be a Boston. I give Cincinnati 14 points just off the strength of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. But I personally think that we can see a high-scoring game from the Rams. Hopefully it don't end up like a certain Super Bowl where we saw Atlanta doing a great deal and then all of a sudden the Patriots come back. I think Joe Burrow could be that type, but I think the defense is so good that they will actually either put fear in Burrow or maybe actually put him out the game. Because if Aaron Donald gets free, it's going to be a long night. So we'll address the elephant in the room now. What can the NFL do about hiring minority coaches? And we're going to have a real conversation, not a pretend conversation, a real conversation. What can the NFL do? You know how it so eloquently put 32 billionaires who don't look like you with their own money, who in America, you can do what you want with your money. How can you govern them to hire an African-American coach? The Rooney Rule? Well, it doesn't work. Incentives? Well, it doesn't work. So what can we do? Nothing. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the truth of the matter is you can't do nothing because the one thing that can be done, people don't want to do. And that's the players actually not playing. And I have no issues with this part because it's a 2-part system. The players not playing and the consumers who are African American not supporting. It's a 2-party system. And what I mean by that is if Aaron Donald, OBJ, Jamar Chase say, I'm not playing this game. I refuse to play in the Super Bowl because of the way the conditions are in the NFL. That would resonate. It would. The Pro Bowl, if Russell Wilson did not play, a lot of the African American players did not play in the little toy game that they had, the Pro Bowl, then it's on a great stage, so people would listen. If African Americans stop buying NFL products, stop going to games, I know people be like, well, it really wouldn't matter. It would matter. You start watching the games, or we all become Steeler fans and support the one team that has an African American coach. It'll make a big difference. The point I'm saying is this. Until we're willing to do that, hey, what if Dr. Dre, Kendrick Lamar, and all of them say we're not performing at the halftime because we don't agree with what the NFL and the league has done when it comes to African American coaches? See, these are sacrifices that would change something. Unfortunately, everything else don't mean nothing. Suing the league, I applaud him for suing the league. He's ruined his career, and I think he will win because Colin Kaepernick won too, because collusion is able to be proven. He's not suing because he wanted to sue, despite what Jason Whitlock wanted to tell you. He's suing because information was dropped to him. Whether or not that information came because whoever gave it to him wanted to see a change or just was mad at someone. We've seen where when people get mad at you, all of a sudden information just flows freely. So he's going to win that case. However, his career is over with. The problem that you have is the fact that it's not going to change unless players get involved. If players just stand up and say, you know what, I refuse to play until we resolve this. Explain to me why you're not hiring an African American coach. Why are you hiring a coach that has never coached in the NFL? Matter of fact, why are you hiring a coach that only coached high school? Why are you even entertaining a high school coach? Seriously, like, why are you entertaining a special teams coach? Why are you entertaining a coach who quit on a team, a coach who made one of arguably the worst draft decisions, who has never proven themselves? Why is this coach getting multiple times to prove that he's a good coach when you have all these other coaches who happen to be a minority, who have went up the ranks, who done what they're supposed to, whether they played or become coordinators, who has arguably designed one of the best offenses we've seen in years, and you're telling me that he's not a good interviewer? So you mean to tell me that that interview was that important? No, it's not. Because you can't tell me that a high school coach can interview well, but he has nothing to show for it. Yes, I led a team to a 4A championship. Okay, well, what have you done on the college? Well, I believe that what I did in high school can translate into the pros. How did he build that? So you can't change that. You can't just change that because you sued the league. You can't change that because you speak out against it. The only way you could change that if players like Aaron Donald, OBJ, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, and a plethora of other African American high profile players say, I will forego a paycheck and I would rather retire than to sit in a league that has made it known that they will not be willing to invest in minority coaches. I'm not saying you have to hire every coach that's minority that sits in front of you, but you cannot tell me that you can literally have coaches go and speak on multiple teams, well, speak with multiple teams, sit down with multiple teams, and not get hired. But yet they'll come back and hire a guy you never heard of before who hasn't proven nothing. That doesn't make sense. Unless you're telling me that you just didn't want to hire a black coach. And I would respect you more if you said that. John Elway, just tell me the truth. Don't lie and say, well, that's not true. There's no way you could sit with a man for 8 hours and not hire him. More importantly, there's no way you could allow a man to actually rebuild your team, have winning seasons, and you fire him because he's telling you that your quarterback sucks, which is true. Tua's not that guy, but now you want to fire him instead of saying, who fires a winning coach? Or you hire a coach, Texans, for 1 year who's inheriting a team that was blown up and now don't even have Deshaun Watson, and after 1 year, we're going to just get rid of him. No. Come on. The point I'm making is this. It's not going to change unless we decide to make it change. It's not going to change unless we work towards the change. And working towards that change means either we say we're not going to support these teams until they figure out a better way, or it means that these players have to say, you know what, I refuse to play because I feel as though this is that important. But once again, this is what I'm going to say. You can't say that when you're willing to go out on the field for a white coach. So those owners are like, what does it matter? Coach is a coach, right? What does the color matter? So the question is, does it really matter to us? Or are we just saying that because it's the flavor of the month? A lot of athletes do the flavor of the month. When it's time to really do something, are they willing to sacrifice that paycheck? Martin Luther King sacrificed a paycheck. Malcolm X sacrificed a paycheck. We can go down the list of other people who sacrificed a paycheck. Muhammad Ali actually sacrificed the paycheck. So, are you willing to sacrifice a paycheck or a brand to change the NFL? Time will tell. But until then, as a great anchor said, just shut up and play. Because if you ain't doing that, all you're doing is just running your mouth. So just shut up and play. Oh, man. Now we're winding down. We'd like to say thank you to everybody, to the 2xposu family, Daryl and Ray, to all the other shows. Check us out on all our platforms, from YouTube to 2xposu. We'll be out in the community doing stuff. And please, if you have any questions, concerns, or if you want to come on the show and have a tasteful debate, please let us know. You could DM us, and we'll be willing to do that. William Coleman sends his blessings, and he will be back. But congratulations to him. And guess what? It's a beautiful day. Live it to the best of your ability, and say bump your haters. I'm Marshawn Taylor, and I'm out.